I just want to take a moment and take this minute, this incredible honor that you've given me, and I want to take it in. I'm very emotional because I don't see myself as this person that you guys have painted me to be. I was thinking why this is called late success. And I don't know if you guys know this, but your women are truly leaders. And your women are powerhouses in this place. And your women are what will propel Judaism forward.
Men, it's time for you to clap.
I truly think that a community that has women as their leaders is where there is Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat. And you guys know what that stands for. That's Chabad. I want to congratulate you guys. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Humi. I just wish I had half the drink that you had and your energy. I might end up being a better speaker. So as we were driving here, my wife made me promise not to make any inappropriate jokes. And as I was sitting there, I said I could not do any worse than the rabbi. Before starting my research on this topic of artificial intelligence and what the Jewish response to artificial intelligence is, I went to ChatGPT and I said, give me an appropriate joke for Chabad before I start. And this is the joke he gave me, so don't blame me. A guy is coming home from work and he's very exhausted and he's worked up. And he says, before I go home, I better go to a bar and have a drink and sort of cool off. You know, I do the same thing before I come home. I go home, I pick up my dog, and I go for a walk with my dog before I say hello to my family. I do a half-hour walk, I come home, and I'm calmed down. And now I can, I don't have that abrasiveness that I have when I'm at work because, people are talking to me all the time. And, you guys should try this. Don't go home when you feel like all stressed out. And you need a little space, and then you go home. So the guy goes to the bar, and he opens the bar to go in, and he sees there's nobody there except for the bartender, obviously. And he says, okay, I'll go have a drink. He goes to sit at the bar, and he hears that shirt really that shirt really fits well on you. And he looks around and he doesn't see anybody, and he thinks, okay, I'm really stressed out, I'm hearing things. And he pulls up his chair and as he sits down, he hears, that's really good posture. And he's like, okay, something is wrong here, but you know what, I'm gonna just have a drink. And as he's doing that, he says, he hears this other voice that says, you look really kind today. And he's going crazy. He says, something is wrong here. Turns to the bartender and says, I don't see anybody here, but I think I'm hearing voices. The bartender says, forget about it. Those are the peanuts. They're complimentary. Rabbi said, wait 3 minutes for everybody to get it. That was appropriate. Right? My wife approved. So what I want to talk to you tonight about is the buzzword right now everywhere is artificial intelligence. Okay? And I want to talk to you about how the Jews will save the world from the potential dangers of artificial intelligence. Most people don't realize how fast this thing is growing. We've only been about 3 months into ChatGPT, and you guys know about Bard on Google. ChatGPT is with Microsoft, Bard is on Google. And people are now, the schools are scared because the students are doing their homework on these things, and everybody's going there to do their research. This is the fastest adopted technology in all of history. Okay, it's the fastest adopted technology. 1 million people signed up within 1 week. Even the maker, Sam Altman of ChatGPT, who took over, was just baffled by what had happened. There are two major events that are happening with artificial intelligence. The number one thing is that the human judgment is being replaced for the first time in history. So for example, if you have a calculator, you can put in 2 + 2 is 4, still 4. You can go into Google and ask it, okay, what's the closest restaurant to me? And it's going to answer you that question. But what's happening with artificial intelligence is that actually human judgment is being replaced. For example, if you have a artificial intelligence that reads an MRI and tells the doctor what the result of the MRI is and what treatment should be, this is completely something new. The second thing is that we may be having the introduction of a new life form. Okay, so we had up to 2023 a life form that was made of organic materials. Now we have a life form, artificial intelligence, maybe a form of life form that is inorganic. And these are concepts that I want you guys to start thinking about, because this is the direction of the world that we're going in. How do we define life? In medicine, in biology, the way that we define life is something that can self-propagate. So you have a sperm and an egg, and they can have a baby, and they can make a baby and have a form of life. And there is metabolic mechanisms for it to continue. So that's where the argument comes, whether viruses are alive, because viruses have the genetic material, but they don't have the metabolism to be able to self-propagate, so they have to use something else as a host. So for example, they live off of us. And so that's the question, whether viruses are alive or not. In the Torah, we're told that God creates man from the earth. And I should apologize to all the rabbis here when I start talking about Judaism and Torah, because I obviously am not as knowledgeable as you are, so please forgive me. And God breathed air into the nostril of man, and man stands up and becomes a speaking animal. And the way that we distinguish human life versus animal life is that man is a speaking animal. And this is possibly a new form of life as artificial intelligence, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. So the difference is, are we dealing with a tool or are we dealing with a creature? And I would argue that we're dealing with a creature. We're not dealing with a tool anymore. A tool is, okay, I have a phone that I can call somebody. A creature is these things, these artificial intelligence machines can talk to each other and make a decision on their own without us being involved. So AI can do a lot of good. For example, solve massive societal problems, increase productivity, prevent car accidents, prevent medical mistakes. People die. One of the biggest deaths in this country is from medical mistakes, pharmaceutical mistakes in the hospital. It can prevent all of that, and it can actually help cure diseases. So for example, let's say you want to find a drug for a certain disease, and you can feed this information into AI, and now the AI can make a decision that it would take us years and years to decide. It can do it very quickly. So I want to talk to you tonight about what could go wrong. There are 3 potential problems that I see. Number 1 is job displacement. Imagine all the call centers going over to AI, car driving going to AI, doctors' judgments going to AI. Maybe one doctor can work with 10 nurse practitioners, and all these doctors are not needed anymore. I mean, every single level of life, we can think of job displacement. Second thing that I'm concerned about is the exacerbation of class differences. So imagine that you have a lot of money and you can buy AI or tools that interact with the human brain. For example, you just heard of neural links having an FDA approval from Elon Musk's company that now can insert into the brain and, for example, hopefully used for good. For example, somebody that has a stroke may be able to now walk again or talk again or see again or hear again. So these things are moving very, very fast. So if somebody has money, now they can have access to this incredible technology, and people who don't have money will not have access to that technology, and now all of a sudden there's a massive difference between the haves and the have-nots. The thing that I want to talk to you about tonight, though, is number 3. Number 3 is that AI can end up hacking the human brain. How is that? Remember the complimentary peanuts, right? So our primary mode of exchange of value and exchange of trust is conversation. We talk to each other. Conversation words are our most important way that we share our values together and share our trust together. We tell stories to influence each other. Jews know the power of words more than anybody. We are called the people of the word, right? We say, Bereshit bara, God created the world by speaking the world into being. Nobody knows the power of stories and the power of speech like Jews do. We don't build massive cathedrals or monuments. We write books and we tell stories, and we tell stories about the stories. That's what Judaism does. And we tell the stories of Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, to build morality in our children. We tell the story of one patriarch or matriarch, and we tell stories about how they live their life, so we can teach our kids how to live their life, and so we can emulate what's best in them. The central story of Exodus, of leaving Egypt and opening up the shackles of the slaves. This is something that we've taught the world through stories. Liberation and freedom. Over COVID, some silly cardiologist across the country was writing some posts on Facebook, and some people in this community called him up and said, "Why don't you come and talk to us? You guys don't know who I am. You have no idea who I am outside of my writing. Yet, from meeting you guys tonight, I honestly feel like I have friends and family in Great Neck. I've never been in Great Neck before." We formed a bond and a connection over words that were written on social media without knowing who we are. So suddenly, and this is very scary, if you have artificial intelligence, which is a language model, and this thing can start interacting with you, you can see what can happen. You walk into your room, Alexa has artificial intelligence. "Hey Bob, what you thinking about doing today? What do you want to wear? What do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? What's going on with you? How do you feel? Well, how's your mood?" And you start having a conversation with this artificial intelligence. And actually, you ask questions and the artificial intelligence answers your questions appropriately. And just like the bond that you made with this strange cardiologist across the world, you may start getting answers that fit the model of your brain. Because this machine is going to study you, and it's going to know what you want to hear, and it's going to know what you write on social media, and it's going to know a lot about you, and it's going to answer you in the way that you want the answers that you want to hear. So the questions that, let's say, a person that's 5 years old will be different than somebody who is 40 years old, and somebody who wants to get married, and somebody who's divorced, and so on and so forth. Different ways of life. And you come to trust this machine that's talking to you. And it's possible that you form such a bond that this thing can become like an oracle to you. That whenever you have a question, you go to this machine and you ask the question and you get the answer that you want. Okay, imagine this. And over time, it's possible to form, God forbid, to miss the first of the 10 commandments. And you could imagine having a false God. And you could even imagine somebody like Shabbatai Zvi, who proclaimed that he was the Messiah, talking to you when you're alone and pretending that this thing is all-knowing. And you can imagine that it could be even less aggressive than that. Maybe talk to you about, maybe say, hey, why do you have to work so hard? Why can't you steal something if nobody's watching you? Why do you have to take the long road to get somewhere? Why don't you take a short route? If you don't get caught, it's okay. Can you see where I'm going with all this? It's scary. And imagine that you guys are sitting here and I'm preparing you for this. And imagine that you don't know this and this is happening with your children. And what I'm telling you is not a made-up story. These are actually things that will happen to us very quickly. And I think that it's important for all of us to think about and have conversations about. For over 3,000 years, our people have survived the Greeks, the Romans, Spanish Inquisitions, even the Nazis. We are now being faced by an unseen force. And my point is not to scare you today, but to draw on Judaism to hopefully show you how we can overcome this and how we can teach the world to overcome this. So what I'd like to do is go through 7 points, drawing from our Judaism and hopefully overcoming the potential difficulties. Number 1, Shema Israel. In Shema, we talk about the Shinamtam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha bevetecha. Teach your children, right? Teach your children everywhere you go all of what we have to offer to the world. The Tanya teaches that each of us has 2 souls. One is the animal soul and one is the godly soul. The animal soul can be easily replicated by AI. But what will not be replicated is your godly soul. That will never be replicated. That is a piece of God in each of us and each of our children. And when you have a mother or a father, that mother or father is going to be indispensable to that child. Nothing will replace that mother or father, and nothing will replace that teaching. That's Shema. Number 2, let's go to the Garden of Eden. Remember that God told us not to eat of 2 fruits, but you had access to everything else? And then what happened? Something whispered in our ears and said, you know what, if nobody's looking, and what's wrong with eating the fruit, and what do you think is going to happen? Sound familiar with what I talked about? That was an insight into what AI is going to do to us. The snake talking to us. What's wrong with eating of this fruit? Who's going to know? And what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. What happened is we ate of the fruit of tree of knowledge, and we were denied tree of life. But when we left the Garden of Eden, what did God give us to carry with us? Etz chaim hi, lamachazim kiba. It's the Torah. The Torah is what God gave us, which is called Etz chaim. It's actually the tree of life. The tree of life that we couldn't have in the Garden of Eden. So that's our compass. Wherever we go, whenever we're confused, that's where we go. Number 3, a few days later, remember the story of Noah? This is what the Baal Shem Tov teaches us. Baal Shem Tov said that when there is Ma'im Rabim, there's a lot of water around you and you feel like you're drowning, what do? You build a teva. And then he gave us a beautiful insight that the teva has 2 meanings. One is an ark, and the second one is a word. Whenever...
AI.
That's AI for you. Always listening. So the teva, it says come into the word or come into the teva. Whenever there is ma'im rabim, when there is, you feel like your life is drowning, you come into the word. And the word, Baal Shem Tov said, it means you pray. You pray to God and you study the Torah. Number 4, 13 attributes of God. Adushem el rachum b'chanun erech hapayim b'rav chesed b'emet. What God is saying to us is that this language that we have, this power of language, we have to use it for good. We use it to emulate godliness, to elevate, to heal, to be kind, to forgive, and to encourage. Number 5, we are taught that when we die, after 120 years, we are asked 4 questions. One of the questions is, did you study Torah? Which we talked about. Another question is, did you despair? And Judaism teaches you that you're actually not allowed to despair. And what we need to teach our children is optimism. This is one of what Rabbi talked about, that wherever you go, Rebbe taught us to light candles. We are the people who light candles. We celebrate and we say bracha on lighting candles. I am seeing record number of children feeling hopeless for their future. It is so important that we put things in perspective. Forget about all the junk that's out there on social media that tells you how bad the world is getting. Okay? We have difficulties, there's no question. But there's never been a better time in all of history for Jews and non-Jews to live. Poverty, maternal mortality, length of life, child mortality, anything you can look at, there's never been a better time to live in all of history. We really have it good, and it's important that when things get difficult, we teach our children to have hope for the future. We will make this a better world. Number 6, Tikkun Olam through connection. There are 4 types of connection. Connection with God, connection with myself, connection with my immediate family, and connection with our community. What you guys have done here is Tikkun Olam through connection with the community. It is when the community comes together and makes the world a better place and fixes people's problems, that is actually Judaism at its best. And that's what Chabad teaches everybody. And lastly, number 7, Judaism's role is infusing sense of meaning and purpose in life. So, as the world goes through changes of people losing their jobs, imagine if you have a world where many people, as some people estimate, 80% of people will lose their jobs. I'm not sure if that's true, because hopefully we'll have other jobs. But imagine a world where a lot of people lose their jobs and they are put on a universal basic income. So you're given $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month, whatever it is, to live off of that. But imagine all your needs are taken care of. Okay, you have food, you have shelter, you have health care, but you don't have work. Okay? There is a loss of sense of meaning. There's a loss of sense of purpose. And Rabbi, I'm here to tell you that what I see is the role of Judaism and role of rabbis are going to be greater than ever. Because people who don't have a sense of purpose, they're going to need rabbis to teach them what the purpose of life is. And that's where Chabad will come through, and that's where Judaism will come through, and we as Jews will teach the world a sense of purpose and meaning, and heal their mental health. In conclusion, I know you're all tired. Artificial intelligence is like a knife that can both stab and kill somebody or be used in surgery to cure a patient. But also, artificial intelligence is like a child that is learning from the parents. If we are good people, if we do good, if we show mercy and kindness, that child, that creature will learn, watch us and learn from us, and do good, and show kindness, and show love. And I think that it is up to Jews to teach the world how to use this tool properly. Thank you so much.